All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Beste Wines, and I have the great pleasure to welcome you all to the first ever Too Many Hats, Not Enough Time Marketing for Non-Marketers mini conference. On behalf of my wonderful colleagues, Stephen Gonzalez, Jake Kelzer, Elizabeth Mekaru, Asinda Sirignano, and Katie Wiggins-Garlick, I would like to thank you for joining us today. We have a pretty sophisticated, we all became pretty sophisticated at using Zoom, but I wanted to bring up a few housekeeping items as a reminder. Please make sure your name is displaying correctly, remain muted, and use the chat function for your questions and comments. Our sessions will be recorded, so feel free to use your camera as you see fit. Since this is a public event and we heard about many horrifying Zoom bombing instances, if anything happens, we ask that you notify us immediately if the presenter is not realizing, and then exit immediately. We will contact you with a new Zoom link. We are prepared for Zoom apocalypse today. So I'll talk a little bit about us first. We are a committee of international education communicators, and we work at different schools and units at the University of Michigan. We collaborate under the Provost Office's International Education Network to advance our global education outreach efforts across our campuses and beyond. My colleagues will be moderating the chat function in this session, so please feel free to connect with them if you would like to learn more about our committee or our work in the University of Michigan International Education Network. The main idea behind why we wanted to organize this mini conference is that we realized as professionals working in the higher education and global education fields, no matter what area we work in, outreach skills have become more essential than ever. But no worries, the advancement in the communications technologies made outreach much easier, faster, engaging, and fun. In this mini conference, we will share some practical tips and best practices we have found to be helpful in our roles, hoping you will also find them helpful. We meant this to be a mutual learning and engaging space for all of us. I'm hoping to learn from you all as well, so please let us know in the chat your name, what institution you're from, and what field you work in. My colleagues will keep an eye on the chat for me. Now, so we have a great program lined up for you today, and our first session is how to develop a simple marketing plan. I will start off by introducing myself. My name is Beste, pronounced like a fast best day of my life, and I work in the School of Nursing office of the at the Office of Global Affairs at School of Nursing, I'm sorry. I'm a program manager, and in my role, I primarily work with undergrad and grad students who are interested in global health academic programs or global immersion experiences. My office is a hub for all global initiatives in the School of Nursing, including a World Health Organization collaborating center, and therefore I wear many hats for my role, from academic advisor to study abroad advisor, recruiter, and many other business functions. Of all the hats I wear, I would say that my outreach and communications hat is the one I rely on the most. My undergraduate degree is in communications, public relations, and advertisement. I work in corporate global marketing for 5 years before I found myself pursuing a master's degree in business administration. And it was during that time I ended up working in the higher education realm. Ever since the day I started working on a university campus, I knew there was no going back for me. Now, after 13 years of experience in higher education, I'm also pursuing my doctoral degree in education policy and leadership in global studies at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So shout out to registrants from UIUC. Now, I have 2 good news and 2 bad news for you. My colleague, Elizabeth Mekaru, is unfortunately not able to attend synchronously today. The 2 good news are that she is not here because of a very fun emerging family activity, and she made some videos for me to share with you. Final bad news is that means you are all stuck with me today. So with that, I am going to present Elizabeth's introduction to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you synchronously today. I'm Elizabeth Mekaru. I'm currently the Assistant Director of the Education Abroad Office in the University of Michigan's College of Engineering. I've been an international educator for 10 years, and in my role, I wear many hats, including oversight of the day-to-day management of my office and international programming, supervising the professional staff, and developing and running our marketing and outreach initiatives to promote our programs and services. Hi, everyone.
Sorry. All right. So today, our itinerary includes covering the fundamentals of marketing and communications to think about the greater picture and be able to make links between theory and practice. We will then talk very briefly about what is a marketing plan and why should you have it. Next, Elizabeth will dive deeper into the elements of a simple marketing plan. We will then head over to a hands-on activity to write a simple marketing plan based on the templates provided on our website. But first, I want to learn a little bit about your experiences with a marketing plan. I will open up a poll for you here. All right, hopefully you're all seeing the poll right now. Please let us know what your experience is with a marketing plan. Are you all seeing the poll? Okay, now responses are coming in. I'm more confident. Okay, I am going to end polling, and then I will share the results so we can all see it. All right, so let's take a look. We have some folks who never developed a marketing plan before. Hopefully this session will be very helpful to you. And we have some folks who have some experience in developing marketing plans. We will probably be learning together. If we combine our knowledge, I think we're going to have a good understanding of a marketing plan together. And then we have some experienced folks, so we would love to hear from you when it's time to do our Jamboard activity, hands-on activity. And then we don't have money. It seems like most of us either don't have any money or very small to modest marketing budgets. And then some of them have, a few of us have comfortable amounts. That's great. And then how much of your role requires meeting annual marketing outreach goals? So it seems like the majority is less than 20%. That's who we really targeted. But then 20 to 40% is another segment. And then we have 40% and up, kind of almost equal. That's wonderful. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing those results and then move on to the next thing. All right, so before we jump into writing a marketing plan, let's briefly overview what marketing communications is. It's quite simple. There are three main things you need to think about. The sender, which would be who you represent. The receiver, that would be who your target audience is. And everything else in between is the medium and the message. In our session, How to Write a Simple Marketing Plan, we will touch upon all three of these pillars of communication. The rest of the day is going to focus more on the medium and the message. So Even though we use the term marketing broadly for all our communication and outreach methods, and we do use many tactics from the corporate marketing strategies. Having worked in corporate marketing earlier in my career and now in higher education, one great difference that stands out for me is the purpose of marketing. In corporate marketing, your ultimate purpose is always to increase profits and drive sales. In higher education, our main purpose is to increase student and program development initiatives, to increase our engagement, and to ultimately serve our communities in better ways. This is an important distinction to make because you need to always consider how your medium, which is again where you are doing outreach, and messages, which is what you are saying, tie into your organization's or unit's mission and vision. In this session, our goal is to introduce you to the bigger picture of marketing communications in the form of a marketing plan. For the medium, we have a great session today exploring between various social media channels. And for the message, we have a Canvas session that helps communicate your message with more impact, and a newsletter session that will help you streamline your outreach efforts. When you wear your marketing hat, you basically act as a storyteller for your unit. When you tell your stories well, you will engage your audience well and ultimately serve your communities well. But with so many ways you can connect with your audience or audiences, how do you optimize your outreach? So that brings us to the question, what is a marketing plan and why should you have one? A marketing plan is basically a game plan or an action plan you will keep readjusting throughout the year. It is a great way to become proactive about all your outreach needs and think more holistically. You can collaborate with other units to see how your outreach goals fit in with theirs. You can seek alliances to see if there are ways to make a greater impact through joining efforts. Finally, one of the most important reasons why you should want to have a marketing plan is to save yourself time and stress. A good marketing plan should help you organize and optimize your outreach efforts while allowing you to make adjustments along the way. Now, of course, there will always be emerging opportunities that you never planned for, but those will only help boost your marketing and outreach efforts. Now I'm going to start Elizabeth's deep dive session.
What you'll see throughout our conference today is that we're invested in providing you with practical tips and tricks on various marketing topics. So for our session, we've got some goodies for you to download and utilize. One is an easy template you can use to develop an annual marketing plan, which we'll walk through today. And the other is an easy template you can use for a specific event or marketing campaign. So for example, the annual plan template is what you might prepare and present to your supervisor to get buy-in and budget approval the summer before the academic year starts. And the specific event template might be what you use to do a deep dive into your tactics for promoting a specific event like your study abroad fair closer to that event's date. Beste will take you through an activity where you'll work with the annual marketing plan template, but I'd just like to take a few minutes first to offer a few examples and tips from my experiences in the College of Engineering and Beste's in the School of Nursing to help get the inspirational wheels turning before you practice. First topic is mission. As with any good strategic plan, it's important to align your marketing goals and tactics with the mission and vision of your office and ultimately your organization. So it can be helpful to develop a mission specifically for your marketing. Ask yourself, how will your marketing help you achieve steps toward your office's mission? Here's a sample from my office's marketing plan. In the College of Engineering, our biggest hurdle is that engineering students in general don't think of international experiences as their first choice for extracurricular activities. So my marketing is focused on awareness first and foremost. Help the student know that international experiences are possible for them, which ultimately will lead to increased travel numbers, which is the mission of my office. Additionally, we know that engineering students are hugely influenced by their academic advisors and faculty members, so I intentionally chose to include COE staff and faculty in my audience. With my marketing, I want everyone to become more aware of what engineers can do abroad, how my office can support those endeavors, and why those activities are important. Setting that as my mission helps me make decisions about annual goals and tactics that feed one or all of these aims. Beste can speak more to this, but you example that the School of Nursing's focus with their marketing mission is on advancing impact. Whatever your aim, what you set for your marketing mission should be tied to your organization's mission and goals, especially as it relates to your target audiences, which is what I'll talk about next. It's incredibly important to spend time on this aspect of your marketing plan. Understand who your audience is and what they care about. A couple of recommendations here. If possible, try to have your initial brainstorm about audiences with other people, perhaps with your own office if you're part of an office, or if you're a one-person show, perhaps with other student services colleagues around campus. For me, generating our audience list was really useful to do as a team brainstorm because it might seem simple at first, but you quickly realize that, for example, students as an audience is actually very broad. Which students? Are we targeting all students? Just a certain class standing? Are we including international students? Only the students who haven't yet traveled abroad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much to consider when trying to identify your audiences that involving other people in your brainstorm can really help. In our initial brainstorm, we came up with dozens of possibilities, and throughout the brainstorm, we're able to consolidate and narrow it to a list of 6. That would be what I'd recommend. You probably don't want more than about 5 to 7 key audiences. And maybe from year to year, you're focusing only on a few of them rather than always trying to hit all of them all of the time. That can be where your annual goals will be really helpful. Once you determine your key audiences, you'll want to do a deep dive into each one and ask yourself key questions. I'll briefly touch on that process here, and if you're interested, there's a separate worksheet you can download that explains this process in more detail and provides some examples. First, ask yourself, what are the characteristics and motivators of this audience? It's important to get your mind around who this audience is and what they care about. Marketing ultimately is about the ability to influence action. You can't be influential or convincing if you aren't able to speak your audience's language. For example, early studies on Gen Z show that they really care about environmental impact. So doing things like advertising that your events are zero waste or sending them an email specifically highlighting a sustainability study abroad program will help you build rapport with that audience by showing them that you align with their values. Next, just as a sports team going into a game with a rival school, it's important to do your homework on the competition. What alternate activities might be vying for your audience's attention that you'll have to account for? For example, in the College of Engineering, there's a very strong culture of domestic internships for engineers. We know that's a key experience they might be choosing over going abroad. Similarly, it's important to understand what perceptions live in your audience's mind that might be leading them to draw negative conclusions about whether going abroad is right for them. I know, for example, that many engineers assume they have to speak another language in order to study abroad. So in our promotional materials, I always make a point to highlight all courses are taught in English. Third, consider what's your office or initiative's value add to this audience? Why should they care about what you have to say? As I mentioned, domestic internships are a major focus for engineers. So I align my marketing closely to the timelines of our annual career fairs. I know when engineers are applying for and getting decisions about internships so that I can send messages shortly after saying things like, didn't get the domestic internship you wanted? Consider applying to study abroad instead. Here I'm aligning my office services to a specific need the students have. They want to spend their summer doing something. If it can't be a domestic internship, well, why not go abroad? Lastly, where are the places and platforms you can connect with this audience? Are there places, either physical or virtual, where you know they already spend time, or mediums of receiving information that you already know they use? For example, in our college, the Office of Student Affairs sends out a weekly listserv that all students are automatically subscribed to. So we request announcements to be made there when we want to be sure to reach a really wide audience. Also, our college's social media has a massive following among some of our key audiences, so we'll sometimes ask our college's marketing office to post or repost one of our opportunities or events. Annual goals as a concept is pretty straightforward. So we've just provided a couple of examples here from our own marketing plans of past annual goals, just to get the wheels turning when you work with the template in a few minutes. Since we're all wearing so many hats, aiming for 1 to 4 goals for your marketing per year will be more than sufficient in order to create a framework for your activities. If you don't yet have a marketing plan, perhaps an easy goal for this year would be simply develop a marketing plan. So these don't have to be groundbreaking. I've been really surprised, though, at how helpful they can be to refer to goals in order to decide, okay, I've got 20 minutes for marketing today. What will I do? Oh, yeah, I want to introduce a newsletter. So maybe I spend that time benchmarking other newsletters, for example. The last topic I'll provide some insights for before you dive into the template together with Beste is medium. How are you getting your messages out to your audience? I'm throwing up a list of my office's marketing mediums with some examples of each, just to help generate ideas. What I want to stress here is this. It doesn't really matter how many mediums you have, and more isn't necessarily better. For example, if you have an Instagram account, but you only have a few followers and you never post, that actually can be more damaging than not having an account at all. Because if a student visits that account and sees how lackluster it is, that might turn them off. Similarly, if you have a choice between creating a clip art Word document printed as an event poster versus doing a free content creation website like Canva to make a template-based email poster, go with the version that's going to look the nicest. The key is to try to choose mediums that are appropriate to your audience, aka that's how they like to receive information, and make whatever mediums you use as high quality and consistent as you can. Every piece of marketing is a reflection of your office. Additionally, you may want to think about where you can get creative and partner with other offices or initiatives that have similar goals. For example, our college's central marketing office likes to have a uniform look and feel to all the posters that we put up around campus. So we were able to leverage those goals and partner with their designers to create some of our higher profile posters at no charge for the design. And with those quick topics covered, I'll turn it back over to Beste for the activity.
All right. So I am going to post this Jamboard activity in chat right now. I hope you were able to actually access the templates beforehand, so you kind of saw what it's like, but this will kind of walk us through the Jamboard activity is going to help us walk through the marketing plan segments, I guess, step by step. So I'm going to open it up here, and it is, we're going to start with this, who am I and what am I doing? This step is really important. I know it looks a little bit too philosophical, but it will ground you in in the way you're thinking outside of the box, because that's what you kind of have to do with the outreach, right? You got to be creative, but then you also have to stay grounded to avoid some pretty interesting existential crises down the road, right? So tell me about your unit's mission, and how do you see that your specific work is contributing to that mission? I just want to see, what your thoughts are here. And just grab one of the blue stickers, and we can duplicate them too. So if you click on it and double click on it, if there isn't one that's already grabbed, please feel free to make more. Actually, I can try to make more now, I guess. Maybe in case someone else needs sticky. All right, so I have one comment: social justice through education. Yes, certainly social justice is definitely something we're seeing. I mean, Gen Z is certainly very interested in it, but I don't even think it's only generational. I think it is we're all realizing with the pandemic as well, right? Which really highlighted the interconnectedness of health and humanity for all of us, and also a lot of political situations we have gone through underlined the importance of social justice. That's definitely something we always ground ourselves around. To create international programs that complement and supplement their academics on campus. Very important, yes, to enhance their learning. Reduce barriers to study abroad for our diverse student body. Serving international students and letting them know about resources, events available to them, and helping them get connected to the rest of our campus community. We're in wellness mission, woohoo, go blue, to partner with students to foster personal and community well-being in college and beyond. Develop students' professional skills and global competencies through international internships. That's head on with my mission and vision as well. Enroll a diverse group of students each term, extremely important. Another one of those that I always have in my outreach goals to increase diversity abroad. And I can't read this one, so I'm going to click on it over here. Helping international students through their adjustment on campus so they can thrive. Absolutely. That's the same for my small unit. And, we serve a lot of international nursing students. Same for us. Create and promote study abroad opportunities for less privileged students. Absolutely. It starts at the program development level, right? So that's where you begin thinking, not develop the program and then you try to figure out how you're going to adjust it to the needs of the students. It's very important to have that universal design in mind and communicate that well too. Increase students' global competency to enable them for the global workforce. I'm so excited to see so many global colleagues here. Better serve and support underrepresented populations in education abroad helps students. I think while reading these unit missions, we already know that our outreach is serving every one of these, every one of these missions. So whatever you're doing, your outreach is going to line up well as long as you keep this in mind. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the next activity, but I hope you're getting, where I'm trying to go with this exercise, because when you download the template, these are the sections you're going to start thinking about. So now I'm going to move on to the next frame, where we will talk a little bit about audience analysis. This is where Elizabeth earlier kind of walked us through a little bit in terms of our, inspirational wheels turning. Who are your audiences? So who do you consider to be your audiences? We said students, right? But which students? How do you, put your students into, do you do that? Do you put them into segments to be able to create better messaging for each one of them? Think about that. And is it only the students, really? I mean, do we think about, for example, parents when we think about just strictly study abroad programming? Do we think about our alumni? Students who have studied abroad before, they're also seeing everything we're putting out there. So think about the audience a little bit. I want you to kind of start to get ready for preparing a marketing plan for yourself. And then think about how they communicate with your unit. And this doesn't mean like a one-on-one communication, but think about, the overall touch points. So whatever you're doing, your unit is tasked to do. How are the students hearing about you? Are they hearing about you even before they start school? Are they hearing about you at the orientation? Are they hearing about you in different events that are going on campus? Think about all of those touch points, because they will be important to incorporate in your marketing plan. And then what do they care about? You know, Elizabeth mentioned that the Gen Z students are very interested in sustainability. So your messaging is important. You know, when you're putting together events, when you say your event is zero waste, that's certainly aligning with those students' interests. And then also, if you, for the nursing students that I work with, it's very important to them to be able to better serve their communities, which is always more and more diverse, right? We're going to only see more diversity, more diverse populations that our nurses will be tasked to serve, and they would like to, therefore, you know, either go on study abroad programs that allow them to develop their language skills, or that would allow them to immerse themselves into health settings that will take them outside of their more hospital, based learning in the United States, so more community health type programming. So that's how I align my my marketing efforts to reach them. So think about these a little bit and put some ideas. Students, both domestically and internationally, those on F1 and H1 visas, students seeking business or technology degrees. Yes, that's quite specific. And I can see like a few different audiences there, right? And then one person said they communicate with us through email, phone, virtual fairs, and tabling events. Absolutely, yes. Those are certainly important. And then with the tabling events, you can kind of maybe, think about it as all of the tabling events, wherever your brochures are, or anywhere where any office where you have your brochures. Those would all be, touch points to consider for the marketing plan. I'm going to stop talking, hoping that you all are going to start writing some things. Okay, students, parents, faculty, staff, donors, super important, right? Our donors are very important in keeping us going, and they're usually alumni at the same time. So domestic students looking to study or intern abroad for credit, absolutely. For credit is definitely something that we also realize is important to our students as well. And then one more comment here, Instagram, Facebook, TDS, info sessions, absolutely, yes. So we will have another session coming up after this about the 3 social bears. You will probably find that to be valuable, understanding how my colleagues have figured things out here at the University of Michigan. And portal, virtual fairs, social media, absolutely. Our portals are very important, right? That's the first place our students are going to be kind of familiarizing themselves with what we're doing. So all of those websites, portals are important. I want to read a little bit more here. Students who don't consider their holistic well-being, faculty who want to support student well-being, staff who work directly with students. Those are all great audiences you're coming up with here. Thank you. All students, specifically students in need of holistic well-being resources and coaching. And then I have a digital display boards around campus. That's absolutely fantastic, but that means a little bit of, I think, budget too. We're going to be focusing more on, either zero budget or a little bit of a budget, but digital display boards around campus, I have worked with those before and they absolutely work phenomenally. Our portal, virtual fairs. I know a couple people are writing, so I'm going to give you maybe a few more seconds here before we move on. Athletics, domestic internships, not enough faculty buy-in. Yes. competing priorities. That's another important thing to consider when you're crafting your message, right? Because that can really help the students relate to your message. If this is the one thing they are concerned about, not enough, for example, faculty is not considering it important, whatever you're doing as important, or they're not as engaged, then students are influenced by the faculty, right? They are definitely very influenced. And if the faculty is not endorsing or promoting a program, it is not going to take off. So that's certainly an audience that you have to build. Continue as student athlete versus study abroad. What a challenge. I can completely understand, because I know from my friends who were athletes when they were students too, it's really difficult to do anything outside of being an athlete when you're in college. Absolutely, that's a tough audience, but definitely one to consider. Family obligations, strict credit requirements for graduation, limited support from advisors, faculty. Yes, again, campus collaboration. This is what we're talking about right here. It's so important to be able to kind of, promote your value. What value are you adding to the student's experience? And if you're able to do that to all the colleagues, if they all understand exactly what you're doing and how it's beneficial to a student, they will be willing to promote your programs, because it will actually help the students. In nursing, for example, because it's such a rigid program, sometimes if the student falls out of their program, it's a whole year before they can get back in, and because they missed their clinicals and everything is messed up. So I work very closely with advisors at the undergraduate level, so we can together target those students and say, hey, you are actually one of the very few and lucky nursing students that can do a lot of global things. You can go abroad for a whole year, as opposed to only 3-6 weeks, which is the average for a nursing student over summer. So I work very closely with them. And then, of course, financial aid is always, a barrier. Not financial aid is not a barrier, but finances are a barrier, right? So it's a perceived barrier to a lot of students. So I try to work with the financial aid office to promote our messages at the same time, come up with workshops, try to remove those barriers. Program costs, degree progress. So yes, ROI. Somebody wrote ROI. Will this help me get a better job? You got to start to value propose with your students, right? And it's one of those areas that I don't think are very developed in global education. I'm sure some of my colleagues here are doing much better than maybe I am doing, but that's a thing that I've been kind of working towards in my role right now, to try to figure out what ways can we really bring all of the experiences students gained into, and then tie it into their professional development, because that's ultimately what we want. We want them to professionally and personally transform and develop and advance. So. Wow, this is turning to be a very nice resource page, actually. I think I might have this uploaded on our website so we can all, so much thought here, but I already spent 6 minutes on this page. So I'm going to move on to the next one, and then I'm going to have to kind of rush through this, but I love that you're all thinking about these segments in such a deep capacity. So your annual marketing goals, this is where you would throw in, if you, for example, are like me in nursing, I work with global health minors and global health concentration students. So my goals are very measurable, even though overall goal is always to improve the impact of nursing and midwifery locally, nationally, and globally. That's not a very measurable, goal. So what I do is I try to make it a bit more benchmarky, if that's even a word. So I try to come up with, for example, I say, well, last year I had, 25 students in the global health concentration. This year, I'd like to increase that by 5% or 10%. Or last year I had 130 students join my global fair. This year I'd like to increase that by 10%. And that's the kind of marketing goals I set for myself. Things that are obtainable, but don't start with, I'm going to increase it 50%. Obviously, nobody's going to be able to. Well, I mean, sometimes you're able to, but that's probably circumstances. I would go with smaller numbers, because each year, as you do more marketing, as you increase your efforts, outreach efforts, you will see that students are going to be engaging more and doing more things. So this page is not getting much attention, so I'm going to move on to the next page. The medium. So this is where we start thinking about, what media do I have already out there? And you already identified a few of them in the audience section. Some of you mentioned that your students' touch points are, emails, websites, portals, social media, events, tabling opportunities. So think about all of those, and then think about short-term tactics. Those tactics they can be like Elizabeth mentioned. For example, you have an event and you want to increase engagement with that event. What do? You would just go into, Facebook, for example. She gave that example, so I'll run with it. And then create an event, and then you start to promote it. And students sometimes are more, excuse me, engaged. If it's social media, they're going to be much more. It's easier to just click on one thing and then get registered for an event, as opposed to filling out a Google form, right? So sometimes we do need the Google forms too, but other times maybe that's another way to go. And then you can capture them once they're at the event with your with more registration and surveying and other things. And if you have a very small budget, and if you're like me, for example, our hosting budget is completely gone, right? When we're doing events, we don't even have a hosting budget anymore. So what do? I used to use a lot of money for hosting. So now I'm going to have to be more creative and figure out other ways to be able to engage students and still bring them to the fair and still bring them to, ask them to do the things I want them to do. For example, take a survey, right? Go into a raffle. Sometimes a $10 coffee card, to a coffee shop can go a long way for students. So those are the kinds of things I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to be mindful of my time here, but I want you to continue to write these, because I will upload this as a resource in our website. But I want to very quickly go over this. Marketing deliverables is something I wanted to talk about, because you do want to think about those deliverables, right? When you're writing your marketing plan, identify what you need. The deliverable is the thing you're going to use. So it could be a flyer. It could be a social media post, and you might need a graphic for it. It could be an event, and you might need a registration form for it. So it could be a lot of things, but have your deliverables listed so that you have a timeline for, when should I get these things ready? So it's not a last minute thing. You have thought it through a little bit better. You have, given your campus collaborators a little bit of a heads up about it. And I know it sounds a lot, but if you spend like 20 minutes of your day for something like this, a Google form is pretty easy to put together. And then hopefully in the Canvas session, my colleague Asinda and Katie are going to tell you about how to quickly be able to create these kinds of social media deliverables. And then next was the timeline. I was going to get to this. I was going to show you how, we can grab some of the things from the medium and audience, and then we could plug them into the different semesters. At University of Michigan, we have 3 semesters. So we would be using these months for our semesters, and I would plug in, for example, August is my high outreach month because students are incoming students, orientations and things like that. So I would put down most of my outreach activities here. And then June and July are usually a lot less work. So that's where I do all my deliverables, right? Website updates and flyers and social media things. So this is where I create all of those things. All right. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. But if you continue to write this, because we have 15 more minutes until the next session starts, I will be super excited to read through these and then share with the group. But I wanted to go to this last slide and kind of do the closing a little bit. Okay, so hopefully this exercise helped you. I wish we had a little bit more time, but hopefully it helped you think of some new ways to add to your outreach approaches. One very important step, though, in marketing planning is feedback and evaluation. So we didn't talk about that. After each year, you will want to evaluate your marketing plan and make any necessary changes. You will evaluate your marketing plan by comparing your marketing goals against your marketing efforts. And then you will decide which ones helped you the most. You will then begin your next year's plans with a base to compare. Each year, you will have more and more data to measure. I hope you will continue to work on these marketing templates by downloading them on our on the resources page on our website. Again, I will post the Jamboard activity on there as well.